Hello and thanks for joining us on the first edition of Journalist Hangout this week. I am Kemi Fola Adeyemo. Today on the program, OYEGUN-OSHOMHOLE clash over Edo APC crisis as APC backs National Assembly to take over Edo and Bauchi assemblies. Plus, Alaafin writes Buhari over Fulani herdsmen crisis, says Nigeria is sliding towards anarchy. Later on the show, Presidency, PDP at loggerheads over $1 billion ACA security fund. I'll be hanging out with Mayor Akinpelu and Janet Mba Afolabi. Journalist Hangout starts now. Right, you're welcome. But so what is ailing the All Progressives Congress in Edo State? Many know that a party divided against itself cannot stand, but it seems division in the party is being fueled by an ailment of godfatherism. This has resulted in a conflict of interest that's now consuming the Edo State House of Assembly. Add to this the threat of a takeover by the National Assembly if Governor Godwin Obaseki doesn't issue a fresh proclamation for another inauguration. Well, in the midst of all this, APC's national chairman, Adams OSHIOMHOLE, and his predecessor, John ODIGIE-OYEGUN, are trading blames for the current crisis rocking the party in the state. And elsewhere in Bauchi, the State House of Assembly there is embroiled in a crisis of parallel inauguration. Meanwhile, the party has waded into the disputes, throwing its weight behind the National Assembly's decision to take over Edo and Bauchi State's House of Assembly. It says the real issue here is the alleged deliberate violation of the rule of law by the governors of the affected states. You're welcome to the program, Janet and Mayor. Right, and of course, welcome to our viewers. I'd like to begin with you, Janet, now. Pondering on the issues concerning Edo and Bauchi states now, what's your initial remarks to this crisis and its capacity to affect the whole party?
The issue is a conflict between politics and governance. You know, during politics, leaders are elected. Governors are sworn in, and after they're sworn in, governance takes place. However, politicians continue to play politics even when the governors have been sworn in. In the case of Edo State, the governor is alleging that it is because he's not sharing money. That is why he's having problem with the former governor, because he wants to develop Edo State for the 300,000 Edo people who voted for him. Because when he became the governor, he's not the governor for one party. He's a governor for every citizen, every member of that state. Now there is a titanic battle between the former governor of the state, which is John OYEGUN, and the former governor of the state also. And remember that OYEGUN was also a former APC chairman. OSHOMHOLE is now the current APC chairman. So both of them are powerful, both of them have experience, both of them are on ground. So that's why I describe it as a titanic clash. And it's still a war of words. OYEGUN is accusing OSHOMHOLE of being an agent of disruption in the state. Remember that it was OSHOMHOLE that actually brought in Obaseki, because Obaseki, they were saying he's a novice, he's coming, he doesn't really have the qualities of a governor, but because of OSHOMHOLE, he came in, and OSHOMHOLE boasted when he was governor, OSHOMHOLE, that he had buried godfatherism, and he did, because he was like a biblical David who conquered the political Goliath in Edo State. So he claimed to have buried it. Unfortunately, OYEGUN is alleging that he is now playing God to the person he brought in, which is Obaseki, meaning that he's trying to resurrect the very godfatherism that he claimed to have buried. That is where the crisis is. So the governor is saying that he wants to develop the state, he does not want to share money, and the house is divided. A house, like you said, divided against itself cannot stand, and in an environment of strife, there can be no development.
All right. That said, Janet, let me compare your remarks now with Mayor's. What do you have to say now? These are critical allegations against the present chairman of the party. Godfatherism, instrument of disunity. The name calling continues.
Let me start by saying that we have to ask ourselves if we want to practice democracy. If yes, we have to know that the bedrock of democracy is the rule of law. So if we don't follow the rule of law, they are not practicing democracy. What is happening in Edo State is we can look at it from different folds. The first one that's a proxy war between OSHOMHOLE and OYEGUN, because we know that when the forces within the party remove OYEGUN as the chairman, OSHOMHOLE was installed as the chairman. So there's still Cold War between both of them. So what is going on now is like a proxy war. He's supporting Obaseki, and OSHOMHOLE is the godfather in Edo State. Second, we have to, where the idea of the governor, yes, the governor came out and said the problem is that he doesn't want to share money. Without respect to the governor, that's arrant nonsense. Sharing money is a normal thing within the political climate. So he's just using that as an excuse. The main problem is who controls the house. OSHOMHOLE, as the godfather, wanted to control the house. He has more legislators who are loyal to him. But the governor, rightly so, believed that it is not in his interest to allow one godfather in Abuja to install the speaker in the house. So when he issued the proclamation, they did it in the dead of the night, and 9 people picked the speaker. As far as I'm concerned, that cannot stand. People used to do that. We used to do that before in the previous republics. OSHOMHOLE too did that when he was governor. But we must not allow that impunity. We must follow the rule of law. If we say we are practicing democracy, we must follow the rule of law. A governor cannot say 9 people will sit in the house in the dead of the night and then pick the speaker. That is not acceptable. So that's the problem. Who controls the house? Who picks the speaker? That is the problem. So
that said, we are even seeing the National Assembly now, taking upon itself the constitutional role to resolve the crisis.
Yeah, but I don't agree with the National Assembly too, because the National Assembly said, you see, the Constitution gives the National Assembly power to make laws for any state where there is breakdown of law and order in that state, and the Assembly of that state cannot perform their duty. The Constitution envisages that there must not be a vacuum. So the National Assembly can take over the role of making laws for that state. I think that we have not reached that stage, because there is no breakdown of law and order in Edo State. What we have in Edo State right now is like a disagreement between 2 factions within that house. What I think the National Assembly should concentrate more is reconciliation between the 2 parties. Because they belong to the same party, they can sit down and share the offices among themselves. Rightly so, because the second group, because there was 9, initially there were 9, then 2 other people joined them in a 24-member house. So you can sit down and decide to say, okay, this faction will get the speaker, this one will get the majority leader, this one will be the deputy speaker. It is when they cannot do that, because there is no law and order, there is no breakdown of law and order. So I don't see any reason. It wasn't
necessary in the first place. Janet, do you agree with the National Assembly's intervention?
The Constitution empowers the National Assembly to wade in, but there are conditions precedent to that. Those conditions have not manifested yet. For instance, that the State Assembly is completely shut down. The State Assembly has not been shut down right now. So the National Assembly cannot wade in, because the State Assembly is not a colony of the National Assembly. However, I differ on the comment that Mayor made, that Obaseki's description of sharing money is arrant nonsense. It is not arrant nonsense. It is an allegation. It is because we have turned upside down the value. The value system has been turned upside down, that we now accept sharing of money as a culture, as a way of life, as a tradition. Mismanagement of funds has put us in the trouble that this country is today. Mis-sharing of money is corruption, and corruption is the enemy of development. It is arresting development and still impoverishing millions of Nigerians.
But if we are able to fight that war... The governor
says that the problem is that he didn't share the money with OSHOMHOLE. That cannot be true. He's just using that excuse.
But you were not there. You were not there. It's an allegation. So it's left for him to now prove and mention the names of those who said they should share money.
So this for you is weighty. It's
a weighty coming from a governor, coming from Obaseki. So he had made the allegation. The onus lies on him now to come and prove. The OSHOMHOLE should sue him, or whoever he has made that allegation again. They should take him to court and say, come and prove what you have said against us, because it's weighty. In a government that is fighting corruption, we should not be seen that an APC governor and the only governor in the South-South geopolitical zone is making that allegation and not even making it and denying. He made it and made it and made it openly.
Mayor, still on this issue now, can the party, weigh in on the matter now, resolving whatever differences existing between the governor and the chairman?
Yeah, the party has taken a position, and it's understandable, because one of the major actors in this crisis is the chairman of the party. The person so accused to playing God in Edo State by the governor is the chairman of the party. So it is expected that it will have an advantage, because the party has taken a position, and the position of the party is that the rule of law must be followed,
and the party
and that
is
the
also
National Assembly,
yes,
and that the National
Senate
Assembly should take over,
and the House of Reps.
Yes, that the National Assembly should take over making of laws in that state. That's why I said I don't agree with that, for two reasons. One, the first one is that the chairman of the party, who probably must have influenced that decision, is involved in this crisis. So that cannot be seen to have been fair to all concerned. Two, I don't think we have gotten to a stage where the National Assembly will take over. The stage that I think we are in Edo State is reconciliation.
But did you, if the Senate and the House hadn't, intervened, now, was it likely that the two factions in the Edo House would have reconciled without some form of advocacy now from a larger group?
I don't think so. I think either by act of omission or commission, the National Assembly seems to have aligned themselves with the position of the party. Because what the National Assembly told them is that the governor should make a new proclamation to institute the assembly and allow them to do election. If they do that, they know that the other faction are in the majority.
They have the numbers.
They have the numbers. So so either by act of omission or commission, they've already aligned with that position. I don't think that is the best way to solve the problem. Because when you have an assembly, it is important for that assembly to be able to work very well. We've seen situations where when you have an assembly pulling in a different direction from the executive, they won't have enough time to be able to sit down and do the business of state. And I think that this crisis in Edo State is unnecessary, because OSHOMHOLE himself said there should not be godfatherism in Edo State. It should not start that. It should allow the governor to be able to do things. That's why I said because now, even some people, they give or take 9. You can still allow the governor, being the chief executive of that state, to have his way, to be able to have a speaker that he thinks he will be able to work with. So I believe that if they don't do that, APC will probably lose that state.
And it would be a shame.
And one of the problems that we have to accuse OSHOMHOLE of is that he seems to have a style that is affecting the party. You know that they've lost a lot of states. And if care is not taken, they will probably lose those states.
Janet, do you also have an issue with Comrade OSHOMHOLE's kind of leadership? Do you think this is the reason why, the party is having this wars? And like you've validly stated, Edo State is key for the party, the only state in its kitty now in the southern region.
Yes, I think there are certain styles. I don't want to say all the, people have different styles. Maybe some of the styles of his leadership are not right. And you see, styles sometimes are like bad attitude. Bad attitude is like a deflated tire. If you don't change that tire, the car can never move forward. So if there are certain things the party members have identified that is wrong with his style of leadership, they need to sit him down and talk to him so that APC will not lose Edo State. Because now that the House is divided, 10 are for the governor, 14 are against him. The other party, opposition parties, will now use this, will capitalize on it, take advantage, and woo those people to their own side, so that when election comes, they probably will now go to the other side. So I would like OSHOMHOLE to sit down and then listen. Sometimes nobody is above mistake. You may think you know it, but you don't. Nobody does. He has been a labor leader for all his years. So, but politics is different. Politics is not, you don't use those kind of force that you use in a luta continua in labor. You understand? So he needs to change. He needs to adapt to the new role that he's playing as the chairman of APC, because it is is one of the highest roles that anyone can get in that party or even in Nigeria.
Let's leave Edo by the side now. There's also another concern in Bauchi State, Mayor, parallel houses now, so to speak, in Bauchi State. Also another concern for the party that have dire implications, many have argued.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing that happened in Edo. It's the same control. It's the same control of
Kindly pause. Let's bring in Pius now to the discussion from Kaduna State. Good evening. You're welcome.
Good evening. Good evening to our guests.
Good evening. Carry on, please.
Very fine. This issue of Edo State, APC and Adams OSHOMHOLE just need to handle it with caution and with care. Because with all indication, what Adams is trying to do in Edo State, he wants to just cause confusion. And once that is done, then APC is going to lose Edo State, because Obaseki has worked for the people of Edo State and the armed for Edo State, and the people of Edo State like his work. But for that reason, should not have to continue in this country, and more especially in Edo State, where the chairman of APC is from. He is the one that is fighting, but for that reason, and in the other hand, he is trying to continue with good for that reason in Edo State. Please, what?
All right, thank you very much, Pius. Indeed, Mayor, we're still on the Bauchi case now. We're looking at, of course, unresolved issues now before the elections, during the elections, that are also, trailing, and are also that we can also see rearing its face again here.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I said, it's about the same problem. The same problem is who controls the assembly. But because there are different tendencies in Bauchi, that's why each group wants to control that house. And unlike just that, the difference in this one is that there are parallel elections which determine on who you will now consider to be the authentic one. Unlike the other side where the other faction sat in Abuja, this one will be able to inaugurate two parallel factions. But I think it's the same thing that we have to come back to. It has not, yes, the parallel executives could cause problem. But right now, they have not reached a stage where the National Assembly should take over the issue of lawmaking there. I still believe that the problem still has to come to the party, which is the same OSHOMHOLE, and then and the style that we've been discussing. You see, the party seems to have, the present executive of the party seems to have this style of, this is what we want, and this is what we are going to do. And it has been proven in the past that that style cannot work. That was how they lost Zamfara State. because the governor there in Zamfara wanted to do primaries, and the party have their own idea of who they want to be there, and both sides did not want to give, and eventually they lost the state. Now it's the same thing that's happening. I think in politics it is give and take, so they should.
Kingsley from Lagos, you're welcome. Carry on, please.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I've been listening keenly to you guys, and I follow this program very well. The problem we have today in Nigerian politics is the constant meddling by the executive on the judiciary and the legislative arm of the government. Now, the reason for democracy is that all these three arms are supposed to check and balance one another. So the governor, if he truly has good intentions, should allow the State House of Assembly elect whoever amongst them to be the speaker. The mere fact that the executive is constantly so very interested in who becomes speaker or who becomes Senate president gives me worry. That means you have ulterior motives. I'm not saying you should not be interested who you can work with, but you should allow the process run by itself. Every time election is completed, oh, let's have a caucus meeting, the president wants this person, the governor wants this person, and the person must be. It is wrong. I think we should condemn it in totality.
Thank you very much, Kingsley. Jana, do you agree? Is this a valid concern for you? Now, after all, in the case of Edo and in Bauchi State, now, both the governor and the membership in the House, they all come from the same party. So would that be the day indeed when, we would see true independence of all arms, especially in the legislature?
I mean, do I agree with the last caller?
Right.
Yes, he has some points, because the executive should hands off. Obaseki should allow whoever wants to emerge, speaker, to emerge. If he has nothing to fear, if he does not want to cover up anything.
So he should heed the Senate, the House of Reps now, in this case, the recommendation for him to issue a fresh proclamation. Should that then, be the next thing for him to do? Yes,
I think so. I think so. The executive should not meddle into who emerges. But unfortunately, politics in Nigeria
is not played
like that by the books.
And because you read political science does not mean that politics outside the classroom is the same. Politics in political science class is different from politics played outside, especially in Nigeria. And so it's so difficult to see the executive, to see the national body of the party, like the National Working Committee, completely handsing off, not bringing consensus lists. They're always having consensus lists that this is the person you should take, this is the person. That's where they're always having problems. If they allow this thing to emerge naturally, independently, and on merit, we won't have problems. But of course, they will not allow it.
All right, but then I'll still, put the spotlight on you now to spare a word for the situation in Bauchi State. Do you agree that they are one and the same now? Should the party then tackle it with the same method for Edo and Bauchi?
They should. The only difference between Edo and Bauchi is that OSHOMHOLE is from Edo State. That's the only difference.
So it still boils down. Critical period now for a quick one from you, Mayor, now to cap up our discussions on the APC and its challenges.
Let me try to refer to what the other guy said and said it is in the right. It is because part of the why we have the three arms of government is that one should be like a check on the other. But in real politics, it doesn't work that way. There's no party. If a party contests election and wins, there are interests. So the party cannot just allow the legislators to just go and say, okay, pick wherever you like. It doesn't work that way. The party knows who they want to be speaker. They know who they want to be the president of the Senate. Yes, they may not succeed. And the last time that they didn't succeed, we saw that there were problems throughout the 4-year tenure. So in the ideal situation, yes, it is good for people to just come and have their independence and all that. But even members of the assembly do not believe in their independence, because apart from Lagos and some few other states, I don't think most of them do not even have financial independence. Even when they wanted to do constitutional amendment and they asked them to vote, they voted it down, the independence of the legislature, because they were instructed not to vote for it, and they did not vote for it. So for us to think that they can be independent of the executive and they can like, that won't work. We have not gotten to that stage yet. Maybe we will go to that. But I would just want to advise the APC for them to learn from the mistakes of the last election and put their house in order. Because if they don't put their house in order, they'll be embarrassed that they may end up having the same...
And the journey to 2023 has already started, so to speak. Well, still ahead on Journalist Hangout, Alaafin writes President Buhari over herdsmen crisis as Nigeria is sliding towards anarchy. That's next. Stay with us. You're watching Journalist Hangout. Well, insecurity is an ill wind blowing across the nation from the north down to the south. Stories of kidnappings, killings, and other heinous crimes make headlines daily. On Sunday, the Alaafin of Oyo, Oba Lamidi Adeyemi, sent a Save Our Soul message in a letter to President Muhammadu Buhari over what he called the siege to the Yoruba land by Fulani herdsmen. And he warned that people were fast losing their patience with the federal government and security agencies, showing signs of helplessness as the country slides towards anarchy. Well, the ruler's letter is coming as the remains of Funke Olakuri, the daughter of Afenifere leader Reuben Fashoroti, who was killed by suspected herders and is now buried in Akure, the Ondo State capital, today. The letter from the Alaafin of Oyo also comes at a time when the Yoruba political class is calling on Nigerians not to politicize security issues. Janet, the question is, where do we go from here? For the Yoruba race now, so to speak, now, these are really challenging times. What do you think?
Well, first of all, Alaafin Oyo has added his voice to the call for government to take action on what is happening. And Alaafin of Oyo is a first-class and heavyweight monarch in Yoruba land. What he said that really got me worried is that he warned that the pre-colonial military structure has not completely collapsed. You know what happened in the old Oyo Empire? Historically, they had their own military structure. They were the Eshos. They were Eshos, those are the military men. And the Are Ona Kakanfo was the leader. And now we still have an Are Ona Kakanfo, who is Gani Adams. Meaning that those structures may not have totally collapsed, as Alaafin has said. And he also warned that what happened in 1968 during the Agbekoya revolt should not repeat itself. I don't know if you remember what happened during that time. Between 1968 and 1969, there was this Agbekoya revolt. It was a peasant-driven political revolt, and it still remains as an example of a successful collective action against unpopular government policies. Farmers came together and they were joined by the elites, and then they marched to HERDSMEN, which was the seat of government of the Western region at that time. And then they brought down a lot of things. Government also brought forces to march with them, and you can imagine what happened. Mayhem, serious mayhem. People died, people were killed. But at the end of the day, they still came back to dialogue, and their demands were met. They were agitating against increase in taxes and an end to forced taxation. You know, in those days, they were forcing them to pay tax. That's why they call Agbowopa. Have you ever heard of that? Agbowopa. They forced people, and then they wanted to increase the price of cocoa. And cocoa was one of the producers of the Western region. Income. Yes, that were making income. And you know what happened again? Before the Agbekoya finally revolted, the political scene in Nigeria at that time was very volatile. Awolowo was in jail. 1966 coup. And then there was Biafran war in the east. So the country was already getting hot the way it's happening. So the Agbekoya now also came, and then everywhere. So that's what...
You're taking us back, you know, memories, hurting memories would no doubt, you know, resurface to those who can recollect these trying times for the nation. Which brings us to this threat now. quote and unquote, it's veiled, don't you think? It does carry weight.
I think I want to start by saying that we are making one huge mistake, and the Nigerian media is also part of that mistake. We are confusing Fulani herdsmen with Fulani bandits. They are not one and the same. Every time people say, oh, the Fulani herdsmen in the southwest have taken over southwest, but we are talking about Fulani bandits.
Are we even sure now? Would we even be fair now
that's
to
what I'm
even say that
because
they are
the herdsmen are not really, the herdsmen, yes, we had issues of herdsmen, but the people that we are confronting now are Fulani bandits.
Yeah, and they are criminals.
And I think, the problem has to do with the federal government. There was a time like that we were discussing on Journalists Hangout about when they first started in Zamfara. And I said part of the problem is that because we refer to them as Fulani herdsmen, Fulani bandits, Fulani this, Fulani that, government did not show enough will to confront it when it was at that minute stage. They started from Zamfara. They started with cattle rustling. Then they moved into outright banditry, kidnapping. They moved to Katsina and took over Katsina. They moved to Plateau, moved to Benue. But because the government did not show enough willpower to confront it, now they've moved to the southwest. And I think this government have to know one thing. The main reason for any government to exist is the protection of life and properties.
So
that's the first function of government.
This is a valid plea.
Yes, so this government,
from the monarch.
This government should look at it critically so that they will not lose the legitimacy of being government. Because when you cannot protect the citizens of your country, then you lose the legitimacy of being a government. And what everybody is trying to tell them now is that we know that there's a problem, and we are not seeing enough effort to solve that problem. If you remember that when these Fulani bandits took over the Abuja-Kaduna highway, and they were kidnapping people, killing people almost on a daily basis, what people were doing was just to abandon the road and started taking train to Kaduna. And everybody was, we make we have this problem as if we close our eyes, that problem will disappear. Now we have it now. This is my own suggestion to government. One, I think the Southwest, I'm looking at it now from the problem based on the Southwestern that we're doing, based on what the Oni and the Alaafin are trying to tell that it's okay. This Fulani bandit seems to have taken over major roads in Southwest. I think the first set of people should be the Southwest governors. Yes, they met in Ibadan and they did a conference. What we need is not a conference. What we need is a plan of action. One, they must be able to pull resources together to, one, empower the police within those states to be able to do more than what they are doing now. Two, they must be able to mobilize the vigilantes using OPC structure that is already on ground to be able to empower them in a way that each community will have like a backup security that can give information to police and can serve as first line of resistance. Then thirdly, they must be able to mobilize the associations and the traditional rulers within the community, because these bandits live within the bushes of this Southwest.
Right. Janet, will this work?
What will work is not just security. Using just security is like cutting a tree from the branch. Yoruba people say, "Teni begiloju igiaruwe," meaning that if you cut a tree.
Peter is joining from Taraba State.
Okay.
Kindly hold that thought for a second. Good evening, Peter. Carry on.
Good evening.
Good evening. You're welcome to the program. Join in.
Well, I live in Taraba State and here in the north. If there's something, most of the people that give analysis to this thing, mostly in the West, actually, at times they got it wrong. Just like your guest saying that the herdsmen and bandits are different. Let me tell you here, if you have issue with the herdsmen with their cattle, if they go, attack could come to you the next day. they will come to your village with the attack the next day or the other week. It happens. Actually, I don't know. Formally, it was not so. But any issue you have with them, attack will definitely come to that village. After they have just come, after some days, it happens all over. We witness it. You see, and also allowing foreigners coming in.
Peter, all right, thank you very much for that comment there. Over to you now, Janet. We're talking about measures now that states can take down to even local governments and villages. Will that work, especially as the debate over state police? And we've also seen the negative effects now of states where some form of vigilante groups, have come up with even, members of the community also speaking out against them.
I'm saying that security, tackling it from the security angle alone can never solve the problem of banditry. Banditry had been with us for a very long time, but it has taken a very dangerous dimension now because either politics or economy. Banditry in the Southwest now needs more than security approach. You need to consult politically and find out who they are, do a lot of consultations. You need to also treat the causes, the economic causes of this banditry, because the locals, not only that, I don't want to demonize any tribe and call all of them Fulani herdsmen, because even in that Oshun, the local criminals have now capitalized, taking advantage of the fact that they are calling Fulani headmen.
And this is even not restricted to Oshun State.
It's not restricted to Oshun, it's all over. I'm talking generally.
Right.
But in Oshun, I'm saying that some criminals have capitalized on the fact that everybody is calling Fulani, and they are also into banditry, serious banditry, because they understand the terrain even more than the Fulani people. But in a state like Katsina, the bandits, some of them are coming from neighboring countries, and they have taken over 4 local governments in Katsina and holding it captive. And the governor says he's spending 100 million. I was in Katsina 2 weeks ago. I spent 4 days in Katsina, and I know the stories that I did not sleep.
Did you travel by road?
No, I went by air to Abuja, then Kano. Then between Kano and Katsina, the road is not busy at all, and there are no forests. At least 100 meters, you can still see through. So no kidnapper will kidnap and take you to a nearby forest, like in the south, because the trees are very short and they are scattered, so you can see. And there is no heavy presence of security men on that road. The kidnapping in Katsina used to be within Katsina town, and they just come pick people on the road. It does not matter who you are, they just pick you. But the governor now is saying death sentence for anyone that is caught in kidnapping, because a lecturer was kidnapped. The governor sent another lecturer to go pay the ransom. They also kidnapped the one who went to kidnap. Before the let me tell you the story. Before the one who went to intervene got there, the first lecturer that was kidnapped escaped from the camp of the kidnappers. Very dangerous thing to do. He now got into the camp of another group of kidnappers. So the group A kidnappers were now looking for him and caught him and paid a 2 million ransom to take him back to their own camp. Do you understand what I'm saying? A lecturer in Katsina. And then another lecturer went to finally rescue him. And they took him and said the governor must pay 30 million. But I don't think the governor paid 30 million. They must have negotiated. After that, the mother of one of the wives of the governor, in fact, the third wife, was kidnapped by small boys who were just passing by according to their confessions. And they said, by the way, this is the house of the mother of the wife of the governor. And they just went in there and kidnapped the woman and also demanded ransom. So it was after that the governor said, kill them. But for bandits, he's dialoguing with them. He has opened dialogue with them, calling them for a roundtable discussion, because he knows that banditry in Katsina is more than economics. Banditry in Katsina is political, just like it's political in Zamfara. So you can imagine that Zamfara, where the man who introduced Sharia, the apostle of Sharia, Yerima, that in his state, bandits are now the one telling market women that you can go to, you can come on this day. In a state where they're supposed to be cutting off the arms of robbers, the robbers are now cutting off the arms of innocent people and plucking off their arms with bullets and using the arms to beat them.
But you know,
Mayor, surely there is hope.
No,
surely there is hope
no, because we don't know what we are doing. It is ridiculous for a government to sit down and negotiate with bandits.
That's what is going on now, even in Zamfara.
It is a sign of.
We haven't gotten to the point of
it is a sign of weakness. You cannot.
Lawlessness,
let me tell you something.
helplessness
let me tell you something.
in the country.
It is different when you negotiate with terrorists who maybe have a group and they've taken over some places, and you're being engaged in wars with them, and you're trying to say, okay, what do you want? How can we have peace? Bandits are thieves. They're just thieves who use force to dispose people of their properties. So when you negotiate with them, and then they will now say, okay, we'll negotiate that this is commander of the bandits. That's ridiculous. When a government shows that you are weak.
Mayor Olagunju from Ogun State, thank you very much for joining us at this time. Please carry on. Good evening. Turn down the volume of your TV set and let's hear your view.
Please carry on.
I'm afraid we may have to just cut that call. Please continue.
What I'm saying is that when you negotiate with bandits, it's a sign of weakness. The problem with this government is that, you know, when the governor and the commissioner of police met with bandits and they negotiated with them, it's a frustration that they don't know what to do. Where do we go from here? Our security forces have been overwhelmed. They are fighting Boko Haram in the northeast. They are fighting bandits in the southwest. And those ones, it's not political. There's nothing political about it. It's just so bad because part of the problem is that from Mali,
sorry, Mukhtar from Kano State, what's your view on this topic?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
You're welcome.
Let me make my contributions to what you are discussing now. In the first place, insecurity or security is everybody's concern. Neither Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa. It does not matter. So it is our responsibility as Nigerians to help security agencies to fight any form of insecurity or inform the concerned authority. But our problem, the Obas, the Emas, the respected people in the society, the highly political people on the chair do not bother to speak. Thousands of lives were lost. No Oba, no Imam, no Emma has ever talked. Now, a daughter of Oba has been killed. And now, the journalists are overheating the polity. You know?
Oh, what a shame. Apologies there. He was trying to make another point. Finally, let's sum up all this. The Vice President is on a mission, a fact-finding mission, getting views from rulers in the Southwest region. Do you just see a light coming out of this dark tunnel we're in?
The light that I see is what I've said. Government must acknowledge the problem. Bandits have taken over. There is breakdown of law and order. Government must show the will and the will to be able to confront that bad thing and put it to check. Remember that in Lagos, there was a time in Lagos, armed robbers used to attack banks on a daily basis in this Lagos. The government was able to start security trust fund, equip the police. In the last 4 years, we've not had any bank robbery in Lagos.
It's doable on a national level.
It is doable, yes, if we confront the problem.
All right, gentlemen of the press, let's move on now. In December 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari approved the disbursement of $1 billion from the excess crude account, this to address the security challenges in the country. And 2 years down the line, that sum has become a cause of controversy after the alleged confession by the National Security Advisor, Babagana Monguno, who claimed he was unaware of the whereabouts or disbursement of the money. And now the main opposition, the PDP, quickly fired a shot at the presidency, alleging theft and diversion of funds. In prompt response, though, President Buhari's media aide said $490 million was used to pay for a dozen Super Tucano fighter aircraft in a direct transaction between Nigeria and the U.S., while various other military procurements have also been made. According to Garba Shehu, a balance of expenditure stands at about $880 million. But, you know, Janet, what's your take now? Is this really an issue for you? Talking about the controversy being raised by the PDP, does the presidency indeed have a case to answer to?
I think they should answer. It's an allegation because they're also fighting the 2 billion deal from the other government. But Garba Shehu has done a bit by coming out to say $490 million.
There's also another right.
But if you, my problem here is that if the allegation is that the money was $1 billion and then 490 was used to buy 12 jet fighters, the balance should be 510, not 800 and something that right. Shehu Garba is talking about, because it does not add up.
Right.
No, what Shehu is saying is that 880 million have been expended. And I think PDP is just playing politics. Why is PDP not playing politics? Because it is in the public purview that Nigeria ordered for dozens Super Tucano fighter jets. In fact, we discussed it on this program one time when we said that they should have prioritized it and spend the money on something, because when you want to order, you don't buy jets from the shelf. You have to order it. It takes time, 2, 3, 4 years for them to produce it for you and bring it back. And that the bulk of the money was used for those Tucano jets. You understand? And what Shehu is saying is that apart from those Tucano jets, which was in the public purview, that was, in fact, if you notice, if you remember, there was a news at that time that they produced some for another African country, and maybe they could give us those ones and all that. And they said, no, we have to wait till, I think it's supposed to be 2022 now, or thereabout. And then it said, okay, there are other procurements, you know, because it's an ongoing war and they have to buy equipment. But two things that we have to do. Why I said the playing point is that they know, because it was in the public purview that those jets were done. And then what he's saying is that apart from that 490 million, there have been other procurements that in all they've spent 880 million. Okay. Yes, that they've spent 880 million, which is here as a balance of 120 million. I think why this crisis came about is because the money was not routed through the Office of the National Security Advisor. And it's understandable, because the last National Security Advisor is still in detention, claiming that a lot of money was disbursed through his office and all that. So maybe this government may want to say, okay, let us make direct purchases straight from those who could get us. And then you know that buying arms is very difficult. We have to go to those East European countries for us to be able to buy firearms. There was a time it was even difficult for us, even with our money, to buy those firearms. So I think the government maybe took a decision that let us make direct purchases, because the Tucano jets, they pay directly to the company in America. They negotiated with the American company to produce it for them. So they could have done that too, because I know that they bought some from some Ukraine and some places. They bought some equipment from there. So PDP is aware, but you know, in politics, it is your duty to put your opponent on the defensive. But that does not imply that 1 billion is missing. No. What the National Security Advisor said, because the journalists asked National Security Advisor to say, look, the 1 billion that was approved to buy equipment, how far have you guys spent it? And the guy said, look, it did not come to my office. I'm now aware of the one part. Maybe the money was disbursed directly to the army.
But shouldn't there's also an issue of, you know, miscommunication. Let me compare that position of yours now, Mayor, with Janet now. that is also in the public view now. The way the NSA, Babagana Monguno, the way he addressed, the press, that perhaps, fueled the misunderstanding that people are also, holding against the government of President Buhari.
I think what Monguno was trying to say is that I don't know anything about it. So if you are demanding accountability, it is not from my office. It didn't emanate
from me,
yes,
or personally.
Yes, if you are demanding accountability of how the money was spent, I don't know, because the money did not come to me. So I cannot give account of what I did not collect. I cannot testify to what I did not witness. And Major is saying he thinks that they went through that. They did. Shehu said it, that it was a direct purchase. No middleman, no commission. So everybody knows that. The government bought it directly from US. They didn't have to go through company, contractors, because they know that it will be padded and padded and padded. So they did that. But the NSA was not aware. Perhaps that is where there is a gap. Perhaps government understands why it decided to do it that way. They only can explain. I cannot speak for governments.
And even we can also, bring in the role the legislature has played now on this matter, because there had been calls. But before I continue, Femi is also joining in from Lagos. Kenneth from Lagos, you're welcome.
Hello. So what I'm trying to say is that our government always try to treat the symptom instead of getting to the root cause of insecurity. Let us try and deal with the root cause of insecurity instead of treating the system. What are the things causing insecurity in Nigeria? Until we get to the root of it, this insecurity will never go away. Thank you.
All right, Kenneth, many thanks for having to come back to make your position known. But then still on this issue, it's still tied around, the war against insurgency. What have we done with the equipment we have purchased with this? Before we get there, though, I can see you're trying to make your point also known on this issue. Join it.
What I'm saying is that there's no law that says that if you want to buy military hardware, you have to go through the office of the National Security Advisor. The National Security Advisor is like a coordinator of the civilian, mostly the civilian aspect of security, mostly intelligence aspect of security. So if you have a Minister of Defense, if you have a Minister of Defense, if you have the Defense Ministry, you understand, they take a decision that they want to buy equipment directly from those that they are going to buy directly from. You don't need to go to the National Security Advisor, because if you go to the National Security Advisor, the National Security Advisor cannot buy himself. You have to give it to contractors. So if government took a decision to say, okay, instead of us using contractors and now paying more money, let us buy the equipment directly. And then apart from that, is the problem that we were having problem buying equipment, which was also in the public domain. If you remember that during the time of Jonathan, there was a time we were trying to use, we went to South Africa, we tried to use some people, and they had to seize our money because we went through the back channels, because it was difficult for us.
That became controversial.
Yeah, it was difficult for us, but because buying equipment buying arms is not easy. It's a specialized thing, and then it's not everywhere that you can buy. For example, it is now that U.S. has changed a law for us. During the one time, they didn't allow us to buy because they accused us of war crimes and Boko-Haram, the way soldiers were treated.
Abuses.
And because of that, because of those abuses, they didn't allow us, they didn't sell to us. So we have to move towards the East European countries to now look for equipment to buy. So, in something that has to do with security, it's not something that you announce to say, oh, I'm going to Poland to go and buy from company XYZ, and we are going to spend 100 million. No, most times that is why security is the easiest way to. It is allowed. It's allowed that there must be secrecy in it. Even ordinary security votes to governors, nobody knows how it's spent. They don't explain it to anybody, because the issue of security is not something that you just explain. So the only thing that brought this crisis, which PDP tried to play on, is that naturally people just felt, okay, this is the National Security Advisor. We know that $1 billion was requested by government and was appropriated, and alpha on that thing. And the guy said, well, I don't know anything about it. It didn't pass through my office.
All right, Janet, I guess you have the honors now to give the final take, because we have run out of time. Because really the bigger issue is, like he said, now top secret, this, having to deal with insecurity in the country. But then if abused, the top secret nature of the business of, security could actually not mean well for the populace. So, how do we balance it out to know that everybody's getting a fair deal, as soldiers and Nigerians alike?
Yes. There's no doubt that issues around security and their dealings are generally very opaque. It is not transparent in any way, both federal and state. However, there are a lot of abuses. There are a lot of mismanagement that cannot be questioned. A lot of people hide under security vote, money for security, and loot and divert and embezzle, and they cannot be easily traced. And having said that, the welfare of the security agents on the field in the Northeast need to be taken care of, because when this money meant for the welfare, the weapons, the upkeep of these soldiers are diverted, it shows they will not be committed. The Boko Haram are coming up with strength, with energy, with oneness, because it is an ideological war. But our soldiers are going there divided.
And that is critical, right. Janet Mbafolabi, Mayor Kikbelu, thank you both for your wonderful insights on the program today. And folks, thank you too for keeping us company and for all the comments that came in from viewers. Join us tomorrow for another edition of the program and War Journalists Hangout on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. And send us feedback to our channel, Journalists Hangout at tvcnews.tv. Thank you again for watching. I'm Kemi Fola Adeyemo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.